to have the governor come in and visit us in Scottsboro, Alabama at the historical Scottsboro Boys Museum that's only 3 years old, and we have made a landmark today. So all of our guests that flew in from all across the United States, welcome to Scottsboro, Alabama. No longer can we be ashamed to say that the Scottsboro case happened here, the rape took place, but today we can say the boys are pardoned and will be exonerated. And this came last night at 4 o'clock, that not only would the governor be signing the pardon, but he also would be signing the bill to exonerate it. And to celebrate this occasion, I did not know this, we had buttons made. Clarence Norris Jr. is here, the son of Clarence Norris Sr., and he's wearing one of the buttons that says exonerate. Please buy your historical buttons today. This is a landmark, another historical move in history. I had said textbooks are going to have to be rewritten. The talk that people do, the way they study law in this case is going to have to be restudied. And I admire Governor Bentley that came together and supported us when we first sent the letter. Everybody said, how did you get a Republican senator and a Republican governor to work with you? I said, I don't know, but maybe I need to take up politics. I'm so thankful to all our sponsors, and we have a ton of supporters here. We have the Tony Award winner, Catherine Schraber, who has supported this museum and talked about it. And this is the production of the Scottsboro Boys that's going to be in London this fall. So Catherine is here to speak on the platform, and we're going to go forward with our program with Franklin playing Amazing Grace.
God's grace is truly amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Saving grace like me.
Amen.
And he blessed me that I can share my blessing with you.
All right. candle has been lit for Willie Robinson. This candle is lit for Royal Wright.
This candle has been lit in memory of Andy Wright.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Those boys were approximately the same age as the Scottsboro Boys were when they boarded the plane from Chattanooga, Tennessee, to ride to Memphis to look for work. Roy was only 12 years old, and I think we have that 12-year-old in the audience today. So this is truly a emotional and a historical celebration. Governor Bentley.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This has been a long time coming,
Yes.
and it is long overdue. But you know, it's never too late to do the right thing. And I'm so proud today to be here in Scottsboro to sign the bill and this resolution to correct the injustices that were carried out against these young men called the Scottsboro Boys. The Scottsboro case has been studied extensively over the years, and all the experts conclude the same thing, that the Scottsboro Boys were wrongly convicted.
That's right.
And obviously they are no longer with us, even though I was proud to sit with one of the sons just a few minutes ago, and I'm proud that he's with us today. But we work together on the state level to find a way to let pardons take place and also exonerate all the Scottsboro Boys. The results are this bill and this resolution. Some might ask, why is it so important that we give a pardon or exonerate people who have already passed on? Well, here's my answer. We need to right the wrongs that have been done in the past. We should never ignore our history. It's important to confront our history and secure justice whenever we can. When we look back on our history, we can see how far we have come as a society. And we can look ahead to a brighter future. Just the other day, I was in Birmingham, and we dedicated a marker to Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. He wrote his letter from the Birmingham jail 50 years ago this week.
That's right.
And all this year, Birmingham and the state of Alabama, we're celebrating 50 years since several major events took place in the civil rights movement. But Scottsboro was on the forefront of civil rights even before then.
That's right.
This case started back in the 1930s. Now, more than 80 years later, we're finally able to stand here today and take this important step. And I thought it was very important to come back to Scottsboro and not do this in Montgomery.
That's right.
We cannot take back what happened, but we can make it right by moving forward. And that's why I'm signing this legislation. This is the result of a bipartisan, cooperative effort. And I appreciate everyone who worked together to make this legislation a reality. Senator Arthur Orr, Representative Laura Hall sponsored the pardoning legislation. Representative John Robinson and Senator Shad McGill sponsored the resolution that formally exonerates the Scottsboro Boys name. This also has the support of other legislators from across this area and across our state. I also want to recognize Sheila Washington. Sheila is the founder of this museum where we're gathered today. And anyone who knows Sheila knows how dedicated she is in this beautiful old church that was built by slaves. And as I conclude, I'm going to give you a formal commendation that I have signed recognizing your efforts to work in this beautiful museum that we have here today. So I'm going to give you this commendation. Before I sign the bill in a few minutes, I want to call on some people. First, we will call on Senator Orr, then Representative Hall, Representative Robinson, and then we'll hear from Sheila Washington and Catherine Schreiber. Well, that's close. I'm sorry, Catherine. So we'll start with Senator Orr.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning. Good morning. What a great day to be here in Scottsboro. The weather broke and cooperated. The governor's office called me yesterday and said, don't know about that weather. It might be a little difficult getting up to Scottsboro on the plane, but we said our prayers and we're so glad that he was able to join us today. I can't say enough good things about Sheila Washington. You may ask, well, who are you? What are you doing here? You're not from Scottsboro, Jackson County. Well, I'm from Decatur. And as you know your history, Decatur also had a role in these trials that happened many years ago. And thanks to the goodness of Sheila Washington and her team, they came to visit me some months ago and said, we want someone from Decatur to help handle this legislation because Decatur, along with Scottsboro, has a stake in this historical event. And so very honored that she approached me and we were able to get this going. You know, today is a great step in history, but it's a solemn day, but it's also a joyful day.
That's right. Because
our state is a different state than it was 80 years ago, than it was 50 years ago, 40 years ago. But we still have miles to go before we sleep, as the poet said. There's still things we've got to concentrate here on Alabama as other states across this country need to do. But we can learn from history. We can learn from this event and what we are doing here today and putting the final chapter, even though we'll continue to learn from this event, through what the governor is going to be able to sign through the pardoning and the exoneration of these 8 remaining young men. So this is a great step for us to take, because we know what was said some years ago about injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And we need to right this injustice and go forward as a people in this state, showing our commitment to justice everywhere across our great state and our great country. It's my pleasure to introduce my cohort, and that person is Representative Laura Hall. There is not a finer lady in the Alabama legislature than Representative Hall. So when Sheila Washington approached me, being from Decatur, I said, well, we're going to need a House sponsor. The gentleman from Jackson County were handling the resolution that Governor Bentley will sign, and I said, we need a House sponsor. And I said, I think that person needs to be Representative Laura Hall. She is certainly a class act. But also, in making this legislation possible, we did something that doesn't happen a lot in Montgomery, and it doesn't happen a lot in Washington. We were able to get unanimous consent in the House of Representatives, Republicans, Democrats, black legislators, white legislators, unanimous consent in the Alabama Senate, Republicans, Democrats, black, white, all coming together wanting to right the wrongs and injustices that were done so many years ago. So please join me in welcoming Representative Laura Hall from Huntsville.
Good morning. Good morning. You know, as I was sitting there thinking about 80 years ago, look around this room. Amen. Look at this room. We are a diverse community in this room. That would not have been 80 years ago. Amen. So give yourselves a hand. I am honored to have had the privilege of being an instrument to make sure that this bill was passed. I found it enlightening, heartwarming, as I talked to my colleagues and asked them to read the bill before I introduced it, and if they would sign on. And not one time did I get a negative response. When the bill was brought up for a vote, as Senator Orr has indicated, there was not one negative vote. As a child, I used to sing this song, if you're happy and you know it. I am certainly happy today that we have made an effort to correct a wrong that has occurred more than 80 years ago. And that those of us that are living in Alabama will continue to strive to make sure that Alabama is the beautiful Alabama that we sing about and that we use as our slogan. I find it encouraging and enlightening to have an opportunity not only to learn, I thought I knew some history. I was very limited in my history about the Scottsboro Boys. And I want to say a special thank you to Ms. Sheila Washington for making sure not only that the governor is here to sign this bill, but that Arthur Orr and I were actively involved in the bill. I want to ask Wayne Johnson, who is my colleague from the House, if he will come up and make a few comments as well. Thank you.
Hello. I'm real honored to be here. Again, when this fine lady came to our office to meet with us to talk about this, I was so thrilled that she wanted to include me so I could be a part of this. And like the governor said, there's no time now better to make something that was wrong, to make it right. So I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be a part of this program we got here. And I'm honored to serve with the representatives we have. Mr. Representative Robinson, we got some fine, outstanding legislators in Montgomery that is working hard and working to do what's right for the people of the state of Alabama. And again, I want to thank y'all, thank everyone here, and thank everyone here for including me in this program. Thank you very much.
Governor Bentley, thank you for coming. We know you had a lot of things to do, but we certainly appreciate you coming and being with us. Distinguished platform guests, welcome. I look back in the back and I see some elected officials I don't want to overlook. I see our circuit judge, John Graham. John, will you raise your hand? I see the mayor of Scottsboro, we sure won't here. Elton Potter. Circuit clerk, he's back there somewhere. There he is. And everybody else, good morning. Good morning. What a memorable day.
Robinson, our distinguished presiding circuit judge, the Honorable Jennifer Holt is here.
Boy, I messed up, Dad. I didn't see you. Is anybody else that I missed here?
Mr. Brett Benson from our district attorney's office is here.
Judge Graham,
They're positive, they straight there, so they miss out, man. They just got a good opportunity.
I don't want anybody getting left out, John.
I know, that's what we got you out there for.
We're not important people, but we hold important positions. John Robinson.
Thank you all for coming, and what a wonderful day, even though it is blustery and wintry out there today. But I know a lot of you traveled long distance to get here. But this is something that's been a joint effort on a lot of people for a long time. And it's wonderful to say that Scottsboro is now, hopefully can get over all of this and the healing process continue. I am so proud of Scottsboro. I'm so proud of Alabama. We have come such a long, long way. And that's not to mean that we still don't have ways to go, as the senator alluded to. We still got miles to go. But we've come a long way, and we continue to march forward. But thank you all for coming, and what a day that this is today. Thank you very much for the opportunity to serve. Governor, I serve the best district of the House of Representatives in this state.
First of all, I'd just like to take a moment to thank all of our supporters that has kept the doors open to this museum in the past 3 years. It's been rough and times got hard and shaky, but we have survived. We were told in 2010 when John Miller came and spoke, he said, Sheila, the museum is open. Now the world will know about you. And today the world will know that the Scottsboro Boys are no longer guilty. They're innocent. I'd like to thank all the participants that was involved in getting this together. I'd like to thank the Jewish family that gave us half the money when I didn't even know where it was going to come from. Right. When this church door closed in January of 2009, the doors reopened in December of 2009 as the Scottsboro Boys Museum. And so much history is held between these walls that in 1933, when the Scottsboro Boys had to come back here before the grand jury, Samuel Leibowitz sat right there on the front pew in this church. When you listen to Rosa Parks' biography, she talks about Scottsboro and her life story, how her husband, then Raymond Parks, was here in Scottsboro trying to start an NAACP. Justice hadn't been too good to the Scottsboro Boys. I wondered when I was trying to make my speech, why did it take so long? What happened? This is not a pretty case to talk about. When you talk about 9 black boys that's supposed to rape 2 white girls, nobody really wanted to get tainted with it. I wonder why civil rights leaders let them down. I wonder why they push for other things instead of seeing this as an important event in history. Why are they monuments in Washington? 2 landmark decisions handed down from the Supreme Court, setting precedents for blacks to serve on juries. Today I can say this is just not a black case, it's a case for human rights. That's right. I'd like to thank my cohorts here, Tom Reedy, John Miller, and Alan Spears. with New College. Would you all please stand? Tom wrote an article in American Heritage last summer, Clarence Norris, the last Scottsboro boy getting free. John Mays was on television every morning talking, and I didn't know what was going on, mentioning my name. Then I met Richard Jaffe from Birmingham, who supported this and told me that it was going to work. Tom, John, and Ellen got together, and they wrote up this bill and this resolution. And we took it to Representative Hall, Senator Orr, and let them add their finishing touches to it. So I'm not the one to get the credit. It's a lot of people involved, the board members here at the museum. They have stood faithfully behind me, and I thank each and every one. And to my Aunt Louise, my parents are dead, but she's been at every meeting from the top. She's been behind closed doors when we were told not to do it. She's been with me when I had to go, when we had to go by ourselves. But today, the museum is alive and well. I'm so thankful that it's paid for. The doors will never close. It will last till eternity. The story can be told in the right way, and now we can add the correct ending, not guilty. And today I can say I'm very proud. I said I would never have anything to celebrate as long as that guilty verdict was on them. So I appreciate the time that the governor took out. And across the state of Alabama, I'd like to recognize Lee Centel, who has supported us from the time we opened, from the state tourism department. I'd like to recognize Greg Griffin he's the chief counsel of pardon and parole. When he told me that they couldn't do it, I asked him, how could we do it? And he told us where to go to get this job done, and I certainly appreciate it. John Allison with the Cater Archives and Carol Puckett, who's here today, they're showing a display that's going to be a traveling museum of the Scottsboro Boys, and it focuses on Haywood Patterson. And there's so many people that has played a part in this museum, and I'm thankful today that one person that has really been a financial supporter and a producer and a Broadway play Tony Award winning, and this is my dear friend Catherine. I'm going to read her little short bio, and again I say, the Scottsboro Boys musical is in the United States. It's in Los Angeles now, and it opened up in May. But this lady has taken it up on herself to go all the way into London and to produce this play there. This play opened the same day that we opened the museum in 2010. And you know, she said that it just snatched her. She can't let go of it. She eats, sleeps, and drinks. And when she called me and told me that she's bringing me to New York to see this Broadway play, I thought, wow. When I got there, I was overwhelmed. So this is Catherine's bio. It is my pleasure to introduce Tony Award-winning producer, Catherine. She is currently producing Candor and Age, the Scottsboro Boys at the Young Vic in London, which will open in October on the 19th. Some of her other productions include Clayton Park, Peter and the Starcatcher, Next Fall, and The King's Speech. Catherine is an honors graduate from Yale College and is also a film, stage, and television actress and writer. She is a Tony voter and member of the League of Professional Theater Women's, a founder of the Center Theater Los Angeles, and a committee member of Fashion for Development. She is married to Miles Rootberg, a senior partner at the law firm of Lathan and Watkins, who clerked on the Supreme Court for Justice Thurgood Marshall. They reside in New York City and have two wonderful children, Stephanie and Jeremy. In 2011, at our 80th anniversary of the Scottsboro Boys' arrest, Catherine received the key to the city of Scottsboro, Alabama, for her work in promoting the Scottsboro Boys Museum, which she's a lifetime supporter and founder member. We are so grateful to Catherine for her personal support of the museum, and we're so grateful to Candor and Age musical, which truly revived interest in the Scottsboro Boys and in the museum. I am happy to introduce and promote my friend Catherine here today, all the way from New York City.
so much, Sheila. First, I want to thank you all for the honor of speaking here today, and what a privilege it is to appear on the same stage as Governor Bentley, Senator Orr, Representative Hall, and Representative Robinson. On a chilly March morning in 1931, when 9 African-American boys boarded a boxcar, they were just like thousands of other young men and women. They were looking for work. Little did they know, or could they have ever imagined, that in the days, months, and the years that would follow, that they would change lives, that they would spark the civil rights movement, that they would change our courts. They would even inspire some of the most important artists of the century, like Langston Hughes, Harper Lee, and John Cantor and Fred Ebb, who were about to open their groundbreaking musical, The Scottsboro Boys, at the Amundsen Theater in Los Angeles and the Young Vic Theater in London. In the musical, Fred Ebb wrote a beautiful lyric for Haywood Patterson to sing that goes, "Maybe times will turn, I pray so. Maybe someday I'll get lucky. Someone's gonna say, all right, son, take the train and go back home. Hop a freight and go back home." Today, Haywood Patterson is finally free to go back home. I'm gonna cry. Okay. How proud I am to be here representing those artists who have been inspired by the Scottsboro Boys story, to carry the conversation forward, to have their voices heard, and most of all, to show that those 9 boys mattered. I first reached out to Sheila when I was a producer on the Broadway production of the Scottsboro Boys in 2010. I was looking for gifts for my investors, and I thought, well, there must be a gift shop at the museum. Little could I imagine where shopping could lead. We started talking, and when I learned of Sheila's dream to start the museum since she was a young girl, of her dedication to preserve the memory of the boys, I was so moved that I wanted to help. I was also deeply touched by her discussion of Samuel Leibowitz, the great Jewish lawyer who committed himself to the boys and brought their case to the Supreme Court with no anticipation of payment and at great risk to himself. So I joined Sheila in her efforts to support the museum, and I invited her, Kathy Horton, the granddaughter of the great Judge Horton, who's here today with her mom. It's an honor to be in the same room with you, truly. Alicia Brooks of the Southern Poverty Law Center, to come to New York to see the Scottsboro Boys and to share their experience with the cast and audience following the performance. My dear friend and Alabama native Jan Crawford, the chief correspondent for CBS News, moderated the event. It was such an incredibly moving night for all present. John Cantor said it was a highlight of his life. Today is a highlight of mine. I represent the creative team of John Cantor, Fred Ebb, author David Thompson, and 5-time Tony winner, director Susan Stroman, to honor Governor Robert Bentley and to applaud the actions of the state in the unanimous passage of the act. Cantor and Ebb, who wrote Cabaret and Chicago, see the Scottsboro Boys as the 3rd major work in their legacy. The trio of shows that take controversial historical events and create brilliant theatrical masterpieces that will keep history alive and inspire people so that they will not forget. The passage of the Scottsboro Boys Act in Alabama proves people have not forgotten and that justice can be achieved. So again, thank you to Sheila Washington, who has done such a heroic job pursuing justice for the boys. She should be deeply applauded, and I pray that others will continue to support her efforts with the museum. It is very easy to do online. You just visit the Scottsboro Boys Museum website, and please friend the Scottsboro Boys Museum on Facebook. Thank you again for inviting me here today and for this wonderful honor to speak at this truly historic event. Thank you.
We have here today Dr. Lynch's daughter, Caroline Lynch, and also Kathy Horton Garrett. Would you all stand again, please? Dr. Lynch was called a coward, but he really was truly a hero. And also, I always like to recognize Miss Mary Abernathy. Her father, John Sanford, was the first black to testify that it was qualified people on the jury. Also, before we close out with our board members, please stand. Reverend Shanklin, Anthony Moulton, Loretta Stevens, Louise Tolliver, Charles Elliott, Tom Bell, Cheryl Snyder, West Canopy, and Linda Hodges, who have put so much work into helping us over the past few days. We applaud everyone. Now Scottsboro can take its place as being known one day as the forerunner of the civil rights movement. Thank you, and thank you for coming out. Would you all come and stand around Governor Bentley, Representative Hall, Senator Orr, everybody on the platform, John, Alan.